Sup everybody, welcome to the live stream, and I hope we're gonna have a nice and easy chilled cruising stream today, talking about a lot of stuff. Maybe some of you guys might find the things I'm about to say controversial, but you know, I think it's important to give my input, or people just to be honest with themselves, right? And of course, being honest with myself and you being honest with yourself, our results may differ, right? Our opinions may differ. Now, where is it? Stream. Oh, wrong game. There you go. Genshin Impact. All right. So we got Kirara here. I haven't pulled for her, and I don't think I will. I don't really want to pull for new characters in Genshin Impact anymore. The main reason is that most of the characters are designed in a way where they exist in one specific unique team structure. Right? It's these characters 99% of the times are not universal. They're not meant for everybody to pick up. They're meant to be for a few select people or a group of people who are very interested in a very specific niche of characters. That's how Genshin always designs their units. 5 stars are the same, 4 stars even more so. There's really like, if you're watching as a new player or a player who is kind of midway through the game, understand that Genshin Impact makes zero effort to make every character feel desirable. Zero. They actually actively make an effort to make sure certain characters are as non-desirable as they possibly can while still be desirable to other groups of players. Okay? So that's one of the main reasons. Like, there's just no point to chase for characters unless you're a content creator, which I am. But even as a content creator, unless you're making like guide videos or stuff like that, there really is zero incentive to pull for these characters, right? Especially if your account is not structured for these characters, you shouldn't really be hunting after them. So my goal here today is to get to the bottom of what this character actually does. Like, I want to understand her role in the game, and to understand how good she likely will be, depending on constellations and stuff. We have a C0 here in the trials, and obviously you cannot trust what they do in the trials, so we kind of have to go through and read her skills and stuff. Normal attack and charge attack is the same, but let's see this. I remember she generates a shield. That's what I remember. And she can turn into a box and climb walls. That's like, people are gonna get bored of that in 2 weeks. Like, that's kind of like I honestly feel like she's gonna become the Hazo of this era, meaning like people are gonna praise the crap out of her, be like, oh my god, it's so new, so exciting, so different, and then nobody's gonna, and that's only because everybody else talking about her. It's like this crowd effect, right? So let's take a look. There, all drilling cap, blah 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 blah. Foes with a flying kick deals AoE damage while creating a shield of safe transport. This will also briefly apply Dendro to Kirara. Okay, the shield absorbs extra 250% for Dendro only. Shield absorption will be based on her HP. Okay, that HP, the remaining damage absorption on a shield of safe transport will stack on a new one created during the reset. Cool. So she's kind of like a shielder. Smash opponents with a special delivery pack used for punishing parcel thieves, dealing AoE Dendro damage. After the special delivery pack explodes, it will split into many cat grass cardamoms that will explode either upon contact with a kind of like a Dendro Klee elemental skill, but put into her burst skill, right? I mean, okay, I can't do anything. Okay, so I can't do anything until it explodes. Interesting. And let's see the bombs. So I can quick press it like what I did just now, which gives a lower cooldown, or I can hold it and turn into a box. All right, look, I can turn into a box, and then when I go through them, I apply Dendro on them. Which I can see this being fun really for a little while. Like, kudos to HoYoverse for always coming up with these new exciting ways to to interact with characters in the game. Come on, dude. And look, her Dendro application is actually pretty fast in this mode. Look at that. Okay. I kind of see the appeal. with the speed of application there. If you guys saw that, like that was pretty crazy how fast she was able to apply Dendro. Honestly, obviously there's going to be ICD, but you're basically going to be capping out on ICD immediately, right, with that. And I don't know, man. I don't know, chat. I think every 8,000 actors possesses will cause her to create. Let's take chat off the screen for a little bit so we can actually read the constellation. So for every 8,000 max HP Kirara possesses will cause her to create 1 extra Catgrass cardamom. That's for her burst skill, right? Maximum of 4, so 32k max health. You can get an additional 4, which is all right. I don't think her big thing in the game is going to be about damage from herself, right? She seems like more of a utility character. I think she's got great Dendro application, but the problem is she has to be on field. So does this mean it's gonna make her into like a Dendro driver kind of role? Like she has to be on field to drive the Dendro application. So that means everybody else has to have all their stuff applied already. Which I don't mind it, right? Like I don't like, because the thing about Dendro is like unless you're playing Alhaitham Tighnari, usually the other Dendro characters, when they're on field, they don't do any damage anyways. Like Nahida driving teams, like she doesn't do any damage anyways. She just has great utility features, right? So it's just having Kirara. I think it could be nice for free-to-plays to build if you don't have Nahida, right? If you don't have Baiju, if you don't have Nahida, you don't have like you're currently working with a Dendro MC, or you're currently still playing with Yao Yao. So let's see. When Kirara is in the urgent necroparcel state, okay, that's her E of Meow Terror Kick. Oh, Meteor Kick. That's a play on word. Nice, very cute. She will grant other party members she crashes into critical transport shield. So this is for co-op. Is it not? This is for co-op. Isn't this like an inferior version of Diona? Doesn't Diona's shield kind of just get applied? Wait, how did Diona's shield work again? I believe Diona's shield is a like this is an inferior version, because people are going to be running everywhere, right? They're in co-op, they run everywhere, all over the place, and you literally have to chase all of them down. If they don't cooperate with you and they keep running away while they're like dodging enemy attacks, you're never gonna reach them. So this is in my opinion, this is an inferior version. The damage absorption of critical transport shield is 40% of the maximum absorption, which is even worse because her shield, it doesn't seem like it's going to be too thick to begin with, right? Last 12 seconds and be triggered once on each character every 10 seconds. This is not an interesting constellation. In my opinion, I don't think that's interesting. We've had this for years on Diona, right? If you want to provide shielding for your team, I believe Diona was the way to go. Zhongli at C2 can do it as well. I don't think this is going to be as interesting of a constellation whatsoever. Let's see her C4. After active characters protected by shield of safe transport or critical transport hit opponents with normal charge or plunge attacks, Kirara will perform a coordinated attack with them using small cat grass, going to dealing 200% of her attack as Dendro damage. Okay. This could be useful. Damage dealt this way is considered elemental burst damage. This effect can be triggered once every 3.8 seconds. This CD is shared between all party members. That's pretty cool. Okay, wait a minute. Shield. Okay, you have to be protected by a shield of safe transport or critical transport. One moment. Okay, yeah, the shield the shield transfers onto other character. That's okay. So okay, this C4 is only as good as how durable her shield is. If her shield sucks, then this one is gonna suck a lot. If her shield is great, then this one's gonna feel great. Let's see how her shield scales. Shield absorption is 16% of max HP plus 1804. Max shield absorption is 25.6. So let's say if you got her to 32,000 health. Right now she's at 39,000 health. So how fat is the shield we're getting? 25% of max health. So 25% times 39,000. 9,700 plus and another 2,800. So it's around like 12,000 damage. 12,000 damage isn't a lot of damage. 12,000 damage is not a lot of damage. And they're running 2-piece Millilith and 2-piece Vorukasha. I was thinking, like, is there any way to make her shield stronger? Which I don't think there's any good way without losing out in other avenues. Which makes this character a little awkward, right? It makes her a little awkward mainly because that I think your C4 is gonna be cool as long as her shield is up. Maybe give her, what's that called? Sack sword. Maybe give her sack sword so you can reapply the shield. Every 3.8 seconds she can do a coordinated dendro attack. That is pretty valuable if, like, in a hyper bloom. I think she's gonna be great in a hyper bloom team. In my opinion, I think she'll be great in a hyper bloom team. She can be like all dendro teams she can work in. That's a good thing about her, right? That's a saving grace for this character. She has great dendro application. She has ways to apply dendro when she's not on field as well, through her burst if you're at C0, through her coordinate attacks if you are at C4, right? Let's see her C6. All nearby party members will gain 12% all elemental damage bonus. That's pretty good. Like 12% is nothing crazy, but like such a universal, okay, such a universal buff mechanic on a 4-star character is good. And you can actually layer this, right? You can actually, because there's no cooldown, I don't see there's any cooldowns, so you can use your elemental skill, and after 15 seconds use your elemental burst, and after 15 seconds use your elemental skill, right? And if you have enough ER, then you can get your burst back. You can permanently have a 12% elemental uptime. Like you can have a permanent 12 all elemental damage bonus uptime if you cycle through her skill and burst properly. Which, I mean, it's cool, but it's nothing crazy, right? Like imagine if this was like 25%. That would be really, really, really good. She would become a staple in a lot of teams. Yeah. EroticWalruss says, well, shielders are worse than healers. Yeah, nowadays shielders definitely feels worse because, but the problem is because healers offers more than just healing. I don't think it's I don't think it's a healing that's beating out the shielding. It's the fact that the healing can apply, like, it's the fact that the healing characters oftentimes apply the element of that they are very well. God damn, it took me forever to get that out. But yeah, it's not like, again, both mechanics are irrelevant in my opinion. Like healing doesn't matter in Genshin, shielding doesn't matter in Genshin, right? Because you can just dodge. You can just dodge it, you can iframe it, literally doesn't matter. The only reason healers right now feels better than shielders is because they just applied the element of their category much better than the shielders. That's it. And then applying that element allows you to kind of piggyback off that into more powerful synergies. That's it. I don't think there's any legitimate reason why people should be running a healer or should be running a shielder other than comfort. That's it. If you are comfortable running a shielder, run a shielder. If you're comfortable running a healer, run a healer. But really, do you need either of them in this game? No. Like Genshin could rid themselves of shielders and healers, and it'll make the game harder, but people will still be able to clear the game fine. TechDevour says healers matters more because you can recover HP in Hard Abyss Chamber. But the thing is, right, what people are saying is you just dodge. You should not be taking the damage to begin with, right? That's what people are saying, just dodge, which I agree with them to a certain extent. There are people who can play this game without the need of like a dedicated healer or shielder. They might be running pseudo healers, right? For example, Ayaka Freeze not running Kokomi, but instead running Mona, and they just run a prototype Amber on Mona, and that little bit of healing is more than enough for them, right? Genshin puts too much emphasis on doing more damage and not enough in surviving the environment in which you have to do that damage, right? Like Techie says, healing matters more because you can recover HP in Hard Abyss, but technically you shouldn't, like if you had a shielder, you wouldn't even take that damage to begin with, right? That's all I'm saying. TechDevour says some things you can't dodge, like Ice Kenki Field and some other mechanics. Yeah, but you can iframe them with your burst skill. Like, trust me, there are ways. There are people who cleared the Abyss with 0 healers. It's doable. It's harder, and it takes a lot more game knowledge, understanding. For example, when you're at the end of Chamber 2, you have to already thinking about how you're going to start Chamber 3, right? All these things are linked together, so you got to make sure what character's burst is up. You can't just be willy-nilly using everything just to clear it. So, yes, it's much more difficult, and you need a much more developed account to be able to achieve it, but that still stands at that's a legitimate way to play the game in the end game. Because HoYoverse made it this way. It's not because the players are trying to, like, HoYoverse made it that healers and shielders are just not as important in the game, with exceptions to comfort gameplay, which a lot of people lean back towards. I lean back towards. I prefer having a shielder on my team because I just don't want to deal with dodging, because I'm always, like I said, I'm always playing this game while watching something on my second monitor, right? This is my second monitor right here. This is my main monitor right here. I cannot be playing Genshin without watching something on my second monitor, meaning that I'm most of the time not fully focused on the game. I'm just going through the routines, doing my dailies, right? Going through Spiral Abyss to see what can be done, half focus, right? I have developed a lot of bad habits, like bad rotations or just straight up wrong rotations, and a reliance on shielders, right? Like these are all bad habits. But the thing is, I can clear the game like this, and if this gets me my rewards, so be it. What about the third monitor? I don't have a third monitor. I want to get one, but the thing is, I just feel like what I could do is I could do like a third monitor just for chat. I could do that, right? Like, I don't know. I think I would want to put chat here. I want to put my camera up here, so then you guys can look at me like this way, not from the side. And then the third monitor maybe for like shows. So in the future, I will have chat like this, the third monitor for shows, and then my main monitor. Maybe that. TechDevour says, I've cleared without healers too, but not as efficient, and Nilu teams need healers. Shielders are not enough. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I honestly feel like both healers and shielders are equally irrelevant nowadays. HoYoverse doesn't seem like they're gonna put any emphasis on survivability anytime soon. Like, I honestly think corrosion should be like a Abyss 12 staple. I think I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying this. I don't think corrosion should be applied on you by an enemy. I think corrosion should be like a stasis effect in Abyss 12. I think Abyss 12 should just naturally have corrosion as an aura. No, listen. I think Abyss 12 right now should be exactly the same as it is, but then it should always have a corrosion aura. So all your characters are constantly bleeding HP. I think that would be terrible for low spenders, free to plays, new players. It would be an absolutely miserable experience. And of course, it'll make healers far more broken than shielders. But I think if you have a shield on, the corrosion effect should be somewhat mitigated a little bit. So meaning that if you run a shielder, there's less stress on your healer. So every team would have a healer and a shielder, or you can just have a really good healer and forego shielding, right? But you cannot have a shielder and no healer. So that means healers suddenly in Genshin endgame starts becoming important. Survivability is a real struggle for people. I think there needs to be more emphasis on survivability for characters like, for example, even a character like Kirara, Zhongli, right? All the shielders and the healers to have more relevancy in the game. Suddenly you'll see healers jump up to S+ tier. People, like the meta people, will be running it, I guarantee you, because Prototype Amber is no longer enough to just get you through the game. Can you imagine running Prototype Amber? Like, even for from Hoyoverse's perspective, it shouldn't be acceptable that people are getting away with not running an entire category of characters in this game, and they bypass it with just like a weapon, a catalyst weapon. J Max has created the problem to sell the solution. Exactly, that's my point. However, like, I'm actually very surprised Hoyoverse has not done this. Like, they have not forced survivability on us, right? Which is why I think, like, I wholeheartedly believe that Hoyoverse is actually being very generous with the game of Genshin Impact. What the fuck? Oh, did I time out? Was that why? Like, Hoyoverse is very lenient with Genshin's mechanics, game mechanics. They're not very strict with it, because I think they also understand what kind of people plays their games, right? They tried with events. No, events are not them trying to make the game more difficult for everybody. The events are like those events that are difficult. If you've noticed, they always have calibration options, meaning that you can make it difficult or you can make it easy. The rewards you can still get all the same. And I don't know, I honestly feel like even the whales are not going crazy hard on those events anymore. Nobody is really impressed by a C6R5 like by somebody's C6R5 characters anymore. Like, that ship has long sailed. I really don't see many whales flexing on us with the like sliding everything all to the max and stuff. Like, yeah, like the big content creators don't even do it anymore. They maybe do it on stream, but they don't make videos out of it on YouTube anymore. And if they don't make videos out of it on YouTube, you know that means like nobody cares about it, right? The Genshin community has moved on. Like, the vast majority of us right now just want to focus in on our accounts, just want to build our accounts. We just want to have fun. If you're still playing this game and you're from like the 1.0 era, you have come to terms with the fact that the game isn't really like combat focus. It isn't really like progress focus. It's supposed to kind of feel, nowadays Genshin feels like a sandbox game to me. Like, you just like do your own thing, create your own event, like build your own housing, do like they give you these features that you can do the things that you want to do in this world that are non-combat features. So, but yet the whole end game, what keeps you in the game are not these events. What keeps you in the games are the new characters and grinding artifacts, polling for constellations. That's what keeps you in the game. But they keep you in the game, and then they provide you with sandbox non-combat features to keep you kind of distracted, right? And of course, TCG, in my opinion, is a great addition for Hoyoverse, but not a great addition for the player base. A portion of the player base is going to enjoy it, sure, cool, that's why. But Hoyoverse knows they have a death grip on everybody else in the game, right? A lot of you guys will not quit the game, not because not because you love the game to death. A lot of you guys are still playing the game because you're so invested into the game, right? And we're so close to Fontaine. You constantly tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna try out Fontaine, and if Fontaine doesn't feel good, then I'm gonna take a break. Yet when Fontaine rolls around, you kind of just come on as a habitual thing. A lot of players in Genshin has, through HoYoVerse's psychological manipulation, has already established a habitual like thing to get on Genshin, right? Meaning like it just feels natural to come on for 10 minutes, and it's very important that it's not like a long duration. Not like HoYoVerse can't trick you into coming on and playing for 4 hours a day with this kind of content release, but they can make you get on for 10-15 minutes a day, right? Either through FOMO or through like habit or through like incentives. They'll find a way to get you on for 10 minutes a day, and that's all they need. Cherry Blossom says, also what keeps me playing is exploring new areas and getting more Archon story. Yeah. And, unfortunately, this patch, there's none of that, right? But you'll still log on. Why is that? Because you know it's coming in the next patch or the patch after that, or it's eventually going to come back. Right? They sell you this promise, they sell you this dream, and for the most part, people are fine with it, right? Okay, I because it's such low commitment. I give you 10-15 minutes of my time in exchange. Once in a while, or like sometimes multiple patches in a row, you give me a good story that I can follow through and keep me distracted for hours at a time. I think it's a fair trade, in my opinion, and it's free. It's free. That's the best part of it all, right? Doesn't cost you a dime. Just some time, 10-15 minutes a day. So I think it's a great deal that they've struck up here. But when it comes to like combat mechanics, when we're here discussing like shielders, healers, none of it really matters. Honestly, HoYoVerse are here to sell good-looking characters with flashy kits and combat styles with unique systems such as the elemental reaction system, mono team system, and unique character developments like Nilu. Right? I think they're here to sell that concept and the fantasy of it all, while at the same time being very careful as to not let us overindulge in this euphoric experience of, oh my god, big numbers, crazy numbers, great artifacts, stuff like that. They keep you on a short leash, but they create the illusion that you're not on a leash. That's what Genshin truly is. Like you're really on a very short leash with HoYoVerse, but you think you're not on a leash at all. You think you're free to do whatever you want to do, which I don't have a problem with that. Again, like I'm highlighting all these things. I don't have a problem with that. A lot of other games tries to do it. It's just Genshin does it very well. Genshin, like the leash is the most invisible when it comes to Genshin Impact. There are people who truly believe they have control over what they do and how they want to do things in the game, and HoYoVerse is not like controlling them at all, which like these people are truly lost. But I it doesn't bother me one bit because I'm on the leash, right? I make content for the game. I enjoy it. I spent money on the game, and I'm still likely going to go forward, buy the Welcome Moon, spend some more money. I'm like fully on the leash. I am like a good doggy wagging my tail for HoYoVerse at every opportunity, right? That's what I am. But I'm fully aware of my situation, and I put myself in this situation because what else am I gonna do, right? After, if people work, come home, what are you going to do? You're going to watch a movie, right? You're going to play video games. You're going to read a book. You're going to do the garden. You're going to go, like, you're going to find something to do. You're going to, like, go out and do some sports, go hit the gym. You're going to do something. I just chose I want to play gacha games, or I want to, like, well, yeah, that's kind of what I do. I play gacha games, like, with an S, multiple gacha games. It's like, that's how I choose, and I make videos for Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, because I'm playing these games and I'm enjoying it, and there's other people who play these games, enjoy it, and want to hear what I have to say sometimes. That's it, right? But are you clear why you're playing this game? Are you understanding that you're stuck in this loop? And if you're aware of it, then maybe it's going to be much easier for you to take control of your account and how you progress and how much you spend, how you spend, and if you spend. Terminus says, has there ever been an entire region without a new character of a certain element? Sumeru and Geo. That's true. Has there not been a single Geo character released in Sumeru? Well, it does make sense because Sumeru has nothing to do with Geo. They have no interaction with the Geo element. I guess it also doesn't have interaction with the Cryo element. Has there been a Cryo character released? Layla, right? Layla came out. Layla came out. So I guess, yeah, Geo is the only one. They do have a Nemo character in Scaramouche. But the thing is, I think Geo is not released mainly because of Crystallize. Like there's literally nothing to play Geo with. It's not really because of Sumeru, it's because of Crystallize. Geo characters only work in Mono Geo or if you're Zhongli. Right? Noel teams work in Mono Geo. Ningguang I think Ningguang's Jade screen is also a mechanic people use to play like pseudo like if you don't have C6 Goro, you use Ningguang Jade screen, which is also fine. So Geo is in a similar spot as physical. I don't think Geo is as bad as physical, don't get me wrong. Geo as an element has great teams, right? The fact that Goro exists already means that Mono Geo is a viable option, and it is. It's very powerful. But there's no like super viable physical teams. And the best one obviously is Eula, right? And can she beat Spiral Abyss at C0 R1? Obviously she can, right? I met this content creator posting content for Eula, and then they do it just fine. And I was like, cool. Like, hey, look at that. But I don't think everybody is able to do what that content creator is doing. Yeah, physical currently is in the worst spot. Yet they released a character like Mika, which honestly doesn't make much sense to me because I don't think Mika should be released this early. I think like from a logistical standpoint, I think a character like Mika should be released afterwards, right? After physical carries and the whole spectrum have been developed and are looking good and just needs a little more bump in power, then a character like Mika come in makes sense. But what Hoyoverse always does is they release a solution to a problem they haven't yet to create for you yet. Meaning that there's a chance in the future Mika will become valuable, and a lot of people are not going to have Mika. and that's when Hoyoverse just like sit there like, very good, we got him again. They love doing that. Like that's Hoyoverse's like 1-2 punch, you know, like. But honestly, they've never once in a situation made it so you cannot play the game if you didn't do it. It just makes your life a little more annoying. I wouldn't even say miserable. It's just a little more annoying. Like, oh, if I had that, this would be easier. And it's always temporary, right? They don't make it so for the rest of the game it's like that. It's very temporary, maybe for that iteration of the Spiral Abyss. That's how they do it. Which is hilarious. Which is hilarious to me because they've done it many times in the past, and they're still doing it. Which I think Hoyoverse is really just trying to see what they can get away with. Like they're constantly pushing the boundaries. I think even Hoyoverse themselves are like really they're really shocked at how much they can get away with. I don't think Dawei, when like they first made Genshin, was confident in how much leeway they were going to have when creating this game and cultivating this community. And now that they're here and they're doing all this stuff and they're getting away with it, they're just like, okay, what about this then? Let's try this. Let's just keep going. But they're very careful as to not overdo it like in one go. For example, right, if every single patch they release 5-6 skins and they sold the skins for like $25-30, that's overdoing it, right? That's pushing too much of a button for the whales. That's basically expecting whales to just like basically they're just like trolling the whales at that point. They never do that. And maybe in the future they will, but they take it step by step. Like they make a character, for example, a character like Dia, right? Do you guys think they're not testing something? They're always testing something. A character like Dia, they're testing the limits and boundaries of how much are people willing to spend for a waifu, right? You love this character? Cool. How much do you love her? Would you love her if she was missing an arm? Would you love her if she was missing both arms? What about both arms and a leg? What about no arms, no legs, right? How much would you go for your waifu? What if this character is just utter garbage, full of bugs, and has terrible scaling, no future, on the standard banner? Would you still wail for her? Would anybody C6R5 her? And sure enough, there were people still C6R5. Obviously, it wasn't like record-breaking sales, but HoYoverse just needed to know, if we make a terrible character in comparison to other characters in the game, would you still pay the bills for her, right? Would you still pay the bills? Would you still wail? And how much money can we still make from a character? Because remember, the cost of making Dia is the same as the cost of making Nahida, right? You have to get the concept artist to drop the design. You need to make the lore. In fact, I would argue that Dia was probably a more expensive character than most characters in the game. You know why? Because you had to voice act through the main storyline, which makes Dia essentially a higher cost 5-star for them to design, because they have to hire the voice actor to read more lines. And they still chose to make her a subpar performing character. What does that mean? That means they actually just wanted to see how much she could pull in. How much could story, could personality, character features drive a banner sale? And they got their answer, right? This is what I mean. They constantly push the boundaries of what is possible in this game. And they're going to take this going forward to their future titles as well. Meaning that in the future, I wouldn't be surprised like Zenless Zone Zero or Honkai Star Rail have characters come out that are fully waifu characters. Meaning they're not made for meta. They're not made for like really good gameplay. They're just made to make HoYoverse a quick buck. And that's it. And remember, HoYoverse is losing money, like potential money in this sense, because they could have made the character better by tuning the numbers, scaling, and whatever, or tuning the element or whatever to make the character more desirable and more meta focused. However, that's also disrupting the meta. Understand this: when they make characters too good, or they make a good character, it always comes at the cost of another good character. So for example, if Dia was extremely good and she was a great pyro carry, right, she's amazing, that's gonna take stock away from Hu Tao, take stock away from already struggling Yoimiya, right? She's gonna bump them down and she's gonna secure the spot for Hu Tao. And that may be not something HoYoverse wanted to do in this very moment. Gutting Dia meant that they also saved Hu Tao and Yoimiya from becoming somewhat irrelevant. Now you guys might be thinking, no, Walrus, they could coexist. They cannot. I'm telling you, they cannot. If Dia was good, if Dia was a well-designed character, well-polished, everything about her was like just superb. She has great pyro damage, great power application, and functioned really well in a pyro hyper carry team, like a melt team, as well as a vaporized team. Hu Tao will get bumped down, right? Hu Tao will get bumped down. Dia would take that spot. Maybe Dia would be 30-40% usage rate by CN metrics with what we've been looking at. And that maybe is not what HoYoverse envisioned for what Dia is about to do, because then what are they going to do in Natlan, right? When Natlan rolls around, I guarantee you Hu Tao is going to get bumped down. I guarantee you. But right now, it's not the time to bump down a pyro carry. So what HoYoverse essentially did is gut Dia one character, as opposed to gutting like multiple characters in the future, because they made Dia too strong, and then they cannot sell Natlan characters unless they power creep Dia. Then they basically take Natlan and power creep. Let me tell you right now, whatever is the best pyro character when Natlan comes out, that's gonna be the threshold to power creep. That's gonna be the threshold to outperform. And it has to be that way, or else it's like Hoyoverse is not going to risk flopping an entire nation's release characters, right? So of course they're going to power creep a little bit, or utility creep, or side creep. For example, I always like to look at Xingqiu and Yelan. Yelan is, where is she? Where's Yelan? Oh yeah, here. Yelan is one of those characters that I think it was executed really, really well for the player's sake. She offers utility that rivals Xingqiu, but there are certain aspects of Xingqiu's kit that he was able to retain, which Yelan does not have in her kit. However, she focuses more on the strength of the game, meaning like more damage, right? Great application, great particle generation, great scaling, and amazing constellations with a very well synergized weapon. She's almost the ideal character in terms of what players are looking for in a character to invest into, right? And I think using Yelan as a standard, they should make each region's elemental character. For example, we're about to get into Fontaine, so like this is what I'm slightly worried about, is they're gonna make a character that rivals Yelan, which I mean, like, it's good, but it just puts more pressure on my wallet to pull for that character, right? Like, I'm gonna pull for that character. I'm sure a lot of other people are gonna pull for that character. I don't know what the Archon is gonna do, but I'm pretty sure the Archon's gonna give Yelan a run for her money in certain features, or the Archon is going to synergistically work very well with Yelan, which is another great way to go about this, right? But then Hydro is a very, very developed element in the game of Genshin Impact. Pyro, in my opinion, is an underdeveloped element. Pyro was the strongest element rated by players back in the game when we first started, and it has just fallen and fallen and fallen and fallen, right? Pyro used to sit comfortably above Electro, and nowadays a lot of people would even rank Electro slightly above Pyro. Others would still say Pyro is better, but unless, like, in my opinion, until Melt is fully matured, I think Pyro is inferior to Electro. Like, in my opinion, I think Electro is sitting very, very well right now. A lot of Electro characters feel very comfortable to play. Now, does that mean that Natlin is gonna come around and make all the Pyro characters feel like crap? No, I think Hu Tao is still gonna be played. It's just like how Zhao is still valuable, just like how Ganyu is still valuable. Hu Tao is just gonna drop from A tier to likely B tier from the CN meta side. She's gonna probably go from like 20 something percent, maybe 30% usage rate to 15 to 20% usage rate, because there's going to be more options for Pyro in the game, and there's going to be newer Pyro characters with better constellations, well synergized weapons, just like Hu Tao and her Staff of Homa. The new characters are also going to be incredibly well synergized with their weapons, with great scaling constellations that are like almost perfectly in unison with the character's concept design. So it's inevitable that she's going to lose a little bit of usage rate because there's just going to be better options. But Dia was not that character, and she couldn't have been. If she was, then it's going to put a lot more stress on the development team when Natlin rolls around and how they're going to develop Pyro. I think Dia actually will likely be a benefactor once Natlin rolls around. Is that copium? Maybe a little bit, but I think all Pyro characters will likely get a slight buff here and there, with other new Pyro carries coming out, which are also going to become staples in the meta. All right. And the Pyro Archon, fingers crossed, hopefully can finally dethrone this lady. I'm sorry, Xiangling lovers, but I'm just telling you guys, she is far bigger of an issue than a character like Hu Tao. If you guys are saying Hu Tao has been at the top for too long, this character, my friend, has got to be replaced by another 5-star character. And I think maybe the Pyro Archon is going to do the thing. Hopefully. Honestly, I mean, I'm fine playing the game like until the servers close that and just use Xiangling as the best go-to Pyro applicator. I have no problems with that. No problems with that. In fact, it's incredible that a gacha game company will be willing to do that. If they do that, right? If a gacha company gives you a 4-star, and this 4-star is the strongest like applicator of her element, and they keep it that way for 10 plus years and then close the game servers and never once tried to sell you a 5-star version of this character, kudos to that company. Like, honestly, round of applause if any company will do that. And I don't think HoYoverse will do that, but if they do, I am fully shocked. But just understand, this character is not that she's bad, it's just that it's gotten very monotonous. It's gotten very repetitive. It's the same team every single time, same combo sequence. It doesn't feel as fun anymore. It felt fun maybe for the first like half a year, you know, but it's closing in on 3 years of running the first, like, of running this combination, right? So yeah. Scully Gaming said, how am I enjoying the cat girl walrus? I'm not. I'm really not. Let me see my history before I even decide to do it. Okay, so we just got Baiju. Should we do a couple polls? Let's do a single poll here. Okay. Nice. Cool. The thing is, like, what even are these? I have Chongyin C6 for sure, but I'm not sure if I have Yunjin C6. I think I have her C6. I do have her C6. Oh my god. Like, what's the point of even pulling this character, in my opinion? Okay, this character, like, listen. Let me break it down for you, okay? This character is good if you don't have Nahida, if you don't have Baiju, if you... I mean, you have to have Yao Yao, right? Like... Okay, this character is good if you're playing Yao Yao, but don't have, like... And you're playing Kale and you're playing Dendro MC, but you don't have Baiju, you don't have Nahida. I think this character could be good. I think that there's a case to be made where if you want to run a double Dendro combo, she could be a good second Dendro options for low spenders, free to plays who don't have Nahida, who don't have Baiju, who don't have like any of the 5-star Dendro characters like Tainari, Alhaitham. I think she's a fun character to have, to own, but she's gonna get boring really fast. And that's just me being honest. Like, her whole like wall climbing mechanic is like, it's gonna become irrelevant very fast. Once Fontaine rolls around, there will be people, when you say the word Kirara, they won't even remember she's a character in the game. I guarantee you, that's the kind of character she is. There will be a group of people who won't even remember she's even in the game. But for now, she seems to be the talk of the town, right? Like, content creators right now are trying to sell the idea that she's like actually good. Oh my god, like they do. Like, I have never seen content creators, with the exception to Dia, say any character is potentially bad or stuff like that. Again, they are... Oh, did this thing respawn? Or has it been here for all these years? My goodness. Scully Games says, I'm calling it, she's going to be kooky all over again. I mean, she definitely feels stronger than a lot of the other 4-star characters. Like, a lot of, for example, let's just take a look, right? I think she's better than Kaveh. I think she's better than Mika. She's better than Layla in terms of like usefulness, overall usefulness. She's better than Candace. She's better than Dory. She's better than Hazo because she's Dendro and has good application. I think she's better than Kale. She's better constellations, better scaling, and just overall her kit is just better than Kale's kit. I wouldn't say she's better than Yunjin because Yunjin is such a niche character and she's pretty good. I think she's better than Toma. She's not better than Kujosara. She's better than Sayu. She's actually around Yanfei. Actually, I think she's around Yanfei. I think Kirara and Yanfei are in a similar category and tier of character. She's gonna be good with a couple constellations invested, and you treat her like how you would treat a normal carry character, because she needs the stats. She needs the stats. Okay, she's not a character you can get away with having sit on level 70 Ascension 4 with like very like based out basic artifacts. It doesn't work because of her requirement for HP scaling and how it synergizes and how that shield synergizes into her constellation, like her constellation 4, right? You need the shield to be up as often as possible, meaning that this character will require investment. She's not a cheap 4-star character to build, right? You can get away with a character like Yunjin, in my opinion, under leveled. You can get away with a character like Kole potentially underleveled, Baruzan underleveled, Yao Yao could kind of be underleveled, but ideally you want to like pump her up as well because she also has scaling through healing, so you need all that, as much of those stats as possible. I think you can get away with a character like Kujosara, in my opinion, because oftentimes she's like buffing electro damage, electro carries. So there's a lot of characters in the game, like for example Sucrose doesn't need to be level 90 with, you know, fully maxed out stats. She can be level 70 running viridescence, stuff like that, right? But Kirara is not one of those characters. And for 4 stars, that's a lot to demand from your account, resource wise. I wouldn't say she's bad, but I wouldn't really say she's amazing. Walrus getting Kirara? No, I'm not. Look, I've been skipping characters now. Like I'm done with the whole like, oh, make sure you get every characters. Let me tell you how, like what characters I like. I'm gonna tell you guys what characters I don't use at all. Don't use. 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 I don't use this. 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 I don't really use him. I don't use him. I don't use him. I don't use her anymore. I don't use him. I don't use her. Don't use. 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 I don't use. 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 Yeah. Like, look at that. Like, how many characters do I just simply not use? Now, some of them are not because they're bad, for example, right? Tartaglia is not because it's bad, it's just I have great alternatives. I could use him, but I don't because I have other amazing options, right? And that comes with the fact that I pulled every single character. A character like Yaimiko I don't use right now is because I'm currently using Raiden Shogun as my electro applicator in most situations. I could use her, but I don't. And also it's because I don't have her like well kitted with artifacts and stuff. Yes, a lot of these characters I don't use them also is because of the artifacts. I don't have the resources to make every single character top tier. Now, none of my characters really are top tier, mainly because I have spread myself so thin farming artifacts for every single character to a respectable degree. But some characters are just easier than others to work with, right? Oh, what was Yao Yao doing with Zhongli's spear? Does my Yao Yao have Zhongli's spear? I don't think I even leveled up my Yao Yao too much. I think she's sitting at like level 60, level 70, was it? Level 70, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Don't mind if I do. She's almost C6. Wait, what? Ah, yes. Yes, my Yao does have the Zhongli spear. Pretty cool, right? Look at that. Pretty cute. It's got the Vortex Vanquisher. So now her skills 8 and this is 9. Cool. That's why yeah, anyways, the main reason I'm not chasing for these characters anymore is like, what am I gonna do with them apart from making the video? They're just gonna sit there indefinitely. They'll never see the light of day. For example, a character like Eula. I don't think I've used Eula since like 2 point something. No, like I'm just being honest. It took me a while to think. I'm just thinking, when was the last time I actually used her? I think I used Eula up and like I used Eula the patch she was first released because it really benefited her. And then I tried making her work once Raiden Shogun came out. I remember that. Which, like, yeah, it kind of worked, but not really. Raiden Shogun was pretty much hard carrying most of the content. And then I just dropped her. Like, tried a couple times making her work, didn't work, and I just dropped her. Haven't used her since. Albedo hasn't really been used since Yelan came out. He's still good in an Ito team, I think, but nowadays I used him a lot with Hu Tao back in the day before Yelan came out. Once Yelan came out, Double Hydro, Hu Tao team took over, then Albedo kind of just sat on the sideline. I haven't really used Ito, even though I have his weapon and have him at C0, I think. So it's a great character overall. But Mono Geo just hasn't really excited me very much. I think I really enjoy switching between multiple characters, applying reactions and seeing like different colors. I don't know, something about those different colors popping up on screen and damage numbers and stuff just makes it a lot more exciting. Whilst Ito is a really strong character, Mono Geo is surprisingly a very competitive endgame composition. It's really expensive to build it, and it's a lot of potential. Like what's that called again? Like there's a cost to investing into a Mono Geo team because most of the characters does not translate very well into other teams, right? So if you're investing into Mono Geo, you get Albedo, you get Goro. Where's Goro? You get Goro, right? You get Zhongli or something like that. And then what ends up happening is Zhongli is the only character that can really slide into other team comps. The other two cannot. So let's say you invested into a C6 Goro, Albedo with his weapon, C1 or C2 Ito with his weapon. Do you know how much resources you just poured into one single team that does not translate to other teams? Let's say you invest into Raiden National, and you invest into Raiden Shogun, Xingqiu, Bennett, Xiangling. All four of these characters can be flexed into unique teams that are not a part of the national category, right? That makes them incredibly valuable to invest into. That's my point. So yeah, that's why Mono Geo, in my opinion, is a very expensive and costly team to invest into. And a lot of people has, and it's treated them incredibly well. Is Kirara a budget Baiju Walrus? No, not really. Because Baiju's healing is great. His shielding is kind of okay. Like it's good enough, right? His shielding is good enough is what I always say. And people always take that as like, oh, his shielding is good enough. So it's kind of like Layla. It's like, you know, like, no, it's not. His shielding is kind of crappy, but like it gets the job done. His Dendro application is like okay as well, like gets the job done. Like that's my point. Kirara, on the other hand, she cannot heal. She has a shield, but her shield is also like not that good, and it doesn't reapply itself like Baiju's shield. So it kind of feels a little awkward. You need to like hard stack HP, which in that regards is similar to Baiju. But I still think Baiju and Yao Yao are kind of similar. Although Baiju definitely feels superior because he has all of those things. Dendro application, invaluable nowadays. Healing, very good nowadays. Shielding's always welcome nowadays. And you have all that built into one character. It's a pretty damn good character. Whereas this one only shields. I think I honestly think Kirara is only going to be relevant for now. And maybe in the future when people C6 her, or people already C6 her, they can fit her into a composition. But the main problem I see is the fact that she doesn't really fit into any meta teams, meaning there's no most effective tactic available that involves Kirara. Does that make sense? When a character comes out and they don't have like they don't exist in any metas, then they're just gonna fade. Because excitement can only carry you so far, right? You can only get excited about a character for so long before they're old news. And is it like kind of crappy that the fact that if a character isn't meta, then they won't be talked about? It is sad, but can you really blame people, right? Like, what is there to talk about in Genshin Impact apart from the changes in Spiral Abyss and how you combat them? Look, I can sit here with you guys and talk about, oh my god, I love her, like I love how they designed her her ears, like oh my god, her outfit is so cute, like oh look at her feet, they're actual cat feet, that's adorable. But how many times can I sit here and talk about, oh my god, have you guys seen her ear design? I love the way they made her feet and the little sleeves, or oh it's so cute. How many times can I sit here and talk about the same features? Imagine every time I start a live stream, it's like, oh my god, have you guys seen her outfit? I love her hair. Oh, the colors of her eyes are so cute. Like, oh, she's adorable. Like, how long can somebody realistically, do you get my point? Do you get my point? Right? But what, like, for example, you may not like a character like Nilou. You might not really like her design, but the fact that, okay, Nilou is really good right now for the Abyss or for XYZ reason to clear the content that you're struggling in, that's relevant conversation. Right? Sure, we can praise Kirara to the heavens and back, but most of her praise right now is going to be like, okay, she's decent for a 4-star. And that's already a death sentence when you're saying, oh, she's decent for a 4-star, or she's great. Even if you say, oh, she's good for a 4-star, that's not what people want to hear. If you want to, if you're curious if a character is going to stay relevant, oftentimes it's like, if you see in the future, is there a potential, right? For example, a great character we can use an example is Kukishino. When she first came out, I was like, this character is crap. Like, how can a character be a healer while like doing damage to themselves? Like, it's just like people didn't understand this character. Nobody saw the potential for Dendro. Like, this is a character that a lot of people gave harsh criticism for, which turned around, right? So let's look at a character like Kirara. In the future, what could possibly come out? Unless in the Spiral Abyss, characters started being put on like impossibly tall structures and you have to climb on top of those structures to continue the battle, then Kirara becomes essential. You see my point? Like, if in the Spiral Abyss, Hoyoverse decided to make a freaking jade chamber, and then you have to climb up a freaking pole to get to the neck, to get the fighting arena, then Kirara becomes relevant. If they're continue just developing Dendro and whatnot, there's only one possible scenario where she maybe could see some redemption, and that is burning and melt, right? I've said in the past that I think in the future, melt is going to rely on burning. These two are going to work together extremely well. That's what I think. And the fact that Kirara applies a shield on herself and goes around applying Dendro on the enemies. So if you apply Pyro on the enemies and use Kirara to reapply Dendro, and then have an off-field Cryo character raining down Cryo, and her role is just to keep applying Dendro so the burning doesn't stop, I think there is a really likely scenario that Kirara is going to be good in that kind of team structure. But is that potentially over a year away? Yes. Right? So I can't sit here and sell you guys the copium that she's going to be good, but I could see a scenario where a character like Kirara, she got her shield on, she's running through the enemies, applying really good Dendro, like very consistently, more consistent than most other Dendro characters that can apply Dendro, right? And she has a shield that protects her from getting burned herself, and her burst skill also applies good Dendro, right? And she buffs all elemental damage. Like, look, here's the biggest clue to her, what she was designed for. Look at this. Why does she buff elemental damage? Why is this not like, let me ask you guys this question. Why do you guys think this is not a EM buff? Right? Buffing EM should be like a no-brainer for. Why is it elemental? That's why I think she might be played in a melt burning team. I think it's gonna buff the pyro damage, it's gonna buff the cryo damage, right? And I think this is going, and this is this could be 100 uptime. So this 12% all elemental damage is going to be great for her burning melt composition that eventually, if Hoyoverse develops it, maybe she'll be a good option if you have her at C6, right? So, and look, characters that use normal charge plunge attacks can also proc this effect as long as they have a shield on them, right? So she applies a good amount of dendro, and right now I think the amount of dendro she applies is irrelevant. Like, it's irrelevant because no amount of team comps, no team comp, even Hyperbloom team doesn't need this much dendro application. So that leaves her only role in the game to be a burning melt character or burning character, right? The amount of dendro she applies, I think, is great for burning. That's it. But if we're gonna sit here and say like, oh, people are gonna still care about her, a patch, 2 patches down the line, we're joking, right? There's no way. She's not that good. Not that good is my point. I'm not saying she's not that good. I'm saying she's not that good. Burning is not safe for delivery packages. Yeah, but that's why she has a shield on. That's why the shield is there, to make sure she doesn't get burned. Omnipotent Bagels says, hey Walrus, this I'll talk about. So free to play. Should I get Jing Yuan or hold off? What do you have on your team? Who's your DPS? Who are you using to push content right now? My wife Celia says, Walrus, I like your Honkai Star Rail content. I also like Genshin, but Genshin right now is a turnoff. I would agree to a certain extent. I think Genshin is only exciting when new 5-star comes out with new Archon quests, new regions to explore. Right now, we're definitely in the slow patches. I myself, I put in about like an hour or so in Honkai Star Rail every day, and I put in about like 5 to 10 minutes for Genshin. Right? My Honkai Star Rail, like I said, I started late, so I'm really playing catch up right now. I'm only Trailblaze level 38, on my way to 39. I'm very close, in fact. But yeah, it's gonna take a while before I hit Trailblaze level 40. Well, I mean, I'll hit it this week, and then I'll finally be able to grind relics, and then I can really push the higher levels of Forgotten Halls and into Memory of Chaos. And then once I hit Trailblaze level 50, I'm pretty sure with my account, I should be sitting very comfortably. But this is Kirara is good for Nilou. Her shield resists Dendro bloom damage by 250%. Yeah, like she could be good is what you should be saying, because there's a lot of really good options. Right now, we can check. Actually, where's my phone? I don't know if they've updated it. Let's see if the CN meta players are using her. Again, a lot of you guys don't like the CN meta players, but it's a great way to kind of see what the top players in CN. Some of them like are huge whales, right? It's a great way to kind of gauge, let's see, how they view the character. I don't know if it's updated yet. That's my thing. Kirara. She's not an S plus. She's not an S. Not an A. Not an B. Okay, I don't think she's here yet. No, she's not here yet. Yeah. I think she's gonna be either B tier or maybe A tier. I could see her in A tier, especially since she just got released. I can see her in A tier for sure, but the data is not here yet. Maybe like on Saturday it'll be here. I'm sure it'll be here maybe tomorrow or the day after that. But I might be able to update you guys on Saturday. No data for the usage rate of Kirara yet. So let's see. Omnipotent Bagels is Sealer and MC. Skip him. skip Jingyuan. Jingyuan is great, but if you already have Sealer, I think you should be polling for. And if okay, see, this is the other problem is that do you have any healers in your account, right? If you don't have any healers or you only have one healers, and if you're okay to not really go too far in the end game right now, then you can go for Silverwolf. I think Silverwolf is great, but if you want to push end game as soon as possible, but then again, it doesn't look like you have 2 DPSs, right? So I don't think you're going to be really competitive in the end game unless you can cheese it somehow with Clara and what's her name, March 7th. So without a second DPS, unless you have like you know, if you have other DPSs like Himiko and what's her name, Herda as well, could work. Only E6 Nat. Oh my god, you have E6 Nat. Oh yeah, because you pulled on the Sealer band. I bet you pulled on the Sealer band quite a bit. Yeah. Only E6 Nat. Yeah, it's up to you. If you want to push endgame and you have a second DPS to use, you can pull for Luocha. But understand that Luocha's synergy probably works better with Blade. That's coming even further down the line. But obviously, regardless, he's going to be a great healer. But my point is that, you know, you're gonna have to pick and choose. There's no really best option for you right now, because if you pick Silverwolf and choose to forgo Luocha, then you're still waiting for a future more suitable healer to come to synergize with your team comps, as opposed to pushing content now, right? So you're definitely gonna be struggling in Memory of Chaos because you don't have a second healer for your second team. So that means you're still not going to be able to push content. And even if you pull for Luocha, if you don't have a proper DPS in your second team, you're still not going to push content. So it's like, pieces have to fit together. But if you really love Sealer, I think Silverwolf is a great option. And in the future, I think I've heard people saying there's a quantum healer coming, and if you can get your hands on a quantum healer in the future, that's gonna be really, really good with Silverwolf. A triple quantum team with Silverwolf, like mono teams with Silverwolf, is really good regardless. So yeah. Herta is a DPS. Herta could be a really good follow-up cheese unit with Himiko. Was it Herta? I think it was Herta. Scully Games says, I heard CN didn't like him. You mean Jingyuan? You're like, I don't think Jingyuan in terms of like raw DPS is as good as Sealer. I think Sealer is a better DPS right now for pushing content, but that's only until, okay, since we're talking about Honkai Star Rail, we gotta hop to Honkai Star Rail. Okay, the thing with Jingyuan is I think he's gonna age better than Sealer. The reason being, it's not my bias, it's just the reason being, there's gonna come a day when people cannot one-shot like enemies anymore with Sealer. That day will come, right? Once you maybe get to Trailblaze level 60, I don't know. Like, I think that day will come when Sealer is gonna not be able to one-shot maybe Memory of Chaos characters or whatnot. That's when a character like Jingyuan has the potential to surpass her. Because he deals consistent damage, but he cannot like blow through the enemy the same way Sealer blows the enemies. Okay, I meant like the way Sealer kills enemies. Came out a little wrong just now, but you get my point. He cannot one-shot the enemies as fast as Sealer can, and the fact that Sealer can one-shot enemies and then go to the next and go to the next and go to the next, it's just, that's what makes her good now. But once she's in like not able to one-shot them anymore, and she takes like 2, 3, maybe 4 turns to kill one enemy, and it takes like 3, 4 turns to kill the second enemy, then a character like Jingyuan can see more value. It's just that right now a lot of people are still in Trailblaze level 40, Trailblaze level 50, but once you get to Trailblaze level 60, right, sure, Sealer is also going to level up and get more stats and get stronger, but like, there's going to come a day, because again, much like Genshin Impact, the overworld does not matter as much, right? You're gonna find ways to familiarize yourself with the stuff in the overworld and stuff, farming and whatnot. So it's really gonna be the Forgotten Halls, Memory of Chaos, which is Spiral Abyss 12 based, the equivalent of this game. That's gonna matter. And I don't think Seele, when she cannot one-shot or two-shot enemies, I don't think she's going to be as valuable. That's just how it is. I think sustained DPS in the long run of Honkai Star Rail is going to be more valuable once people reach Trailblaze 50 and 60. That's it. That's what I think. It's just the way the game is designed. Seele is still going to be very strong in those situations. However, I think she's going to fall a little down in the tier list and like be in line with the other DPS. Right now, Jing Yuan is balanced. I think Jing Yuan is balanced. Seele is the one that's unbalanced due to the nature of like where we are in the game. That's it. That's it. That's all that's how I see it. I think Seele is going to be good for another like 3 to 4 months. Seele is equivalent to Venti. No. Not like that. Not like that. Not that bad. Not that bad. I think Seele is going to be very akin to someone like Ganyu. Something like that. Like even nowadays, if you have a C6 Ganyu, you're still cruising. You're fine. Just like if you highly invested into Seele, 3 years from now, you're fine. You're chilling. It's just she's not the talk of the town anymore. But you expected that, right? I think Jing Yuan is going to be kind of like Tartaglia. Like he's kind of like an all-rounder. Single target, he's great. AoE, he's amazing, right? But I think he's going to get power crept in the AoE department and the single target department, but he's going to stay consistent and he's going to do both very well consistently, and he's going to age fine. Is he going to be the best option? No, he's not going to be the best AoE like 3 years from now. He's not going to be the best single target. Even now he's not, right? But he's the fact that he can do both very well, and he has like his Lightning Lord dealing damage while himself is dealing damage. So essentially you have 5 characters on your team. I think that mechanic is going to be unique, and it's going to be very, very comfortable to play with going far into the future. Why does CN hate him so much? I might be able to look into that. Maybe we can make a video about it. I might have to see. I haven't really heard people talk about him very much from CN because I haven't looked into it. But if you have a video, make sure you can DM it to me, or if you have a post that's in CN, you can DM it. Even if it's a Reddit post, DM it to me. I'd be more than happy to take a look at it and make a video and explain to you guys why people in CN and what they're saying basically. Tectone has a video on it, Walrus. Okay. If Tectone has a video on it, we should go find the original. Because the man, let's see. Tectone really went the route of, I know this is irrelevant, but Tectone really went the route of Asmongold, didn't he? Like mostly just React content nowadays, which I don't mind actually. I let's see. All right, let's take a look. Let's see.
I'm not too sure what the CN server said. Some people hold CN server's opinion in higher regard. I don't know why everything wouldn't be on the same. I don't know what none of that shit means.
Okay, there you go. All right. This is when your boy Walrus comes in and translate this for you. This post is basically saying Jing Yuan's weakness is that his Lightning Lord's mechanic is too slow, and he himself is scared of CC, right? And And even if you're saying, oh, his damage is good though, like, but this person is saying, but that's not really the case. Like, even if you're trying to make a case for the fact that his damage is OP, he's like, not really, right? Not really. And right now he's saying the problem here right now is that Seele's, is that combat. Oh, people are using Seele, more. Like, Seele is more widely used. Right, and he's saying like by the time your lightning lord is taking action, Seele already like went 2 to 3 turns. Like Seele already like killed, like went 2 to 3 times. Right, that's what he's saying. And the fact that Seele went 2 to 3 times probably means Seele went technically 8 times. You know what I mean? Like if Seele went 2 to 3 times, that means like she already pretty much clear the chamber. And I understand what he's saying, right? And he's saying, and let's not even talk about Jing Yuan himself, right? Like the scaling is way too low, and hitting AoE, and even when Jing Yuan himself is doing AoE, he's saying like it should be like a little more than Seele's single target damage. So his argument for it is like your AoE damage collectively should be more than Seele's single target damage. That's what makes AoE a little more kind of or at the very least I would say like equivalent, right? Make it equivalent so that Seele's single target is the same as your damage, except your damage is spread apart. But I don't think that's right. I think what he's saying is good, is your AoE should be doing a little more. The fact that your damage is more spread amongst the enemies means that they're probably still alive and they're gonna go and take their turns, right? That, like, it's just a different combat. Sorry about that. It's just a different combat system. Then he's saying, what? 但是有没有可能你的伤害是5个怪一起来算的? Oh, so he's like, oh, but is it possible that the damage that display is calculated from all 5 of the mobs combined? Which I don't know what he's trying to say. Oh, and then he's saying like in actuality, when your damage is spread among, yeah, that's basically what I was saying. When the damage you have is spread amongst 5 mobs, it's not that impressive, right? If that was centralized on 1 monster, that's impressive because then you can get rid of that monster, and then when the enemy's turn comes, they can't take their turns. But the fact is that Jing Yuan's damage is spread across all of the enemies, and it's weaker than Seele's. Like, and collectively, they're weaker than Seele's single target damage, makes it so that Jing Yuan feels very bad because the damage is all spread across and it's not that impressive, right? And basically, what he's saying, to summarize, Jing Yuan's damage does not feel like it's much higher than Seele, but his mechanics and how his kit works compared to Seele. What the fuck is that? I mean, I'm guessing he's saying like it's weaker. Like his mechanic and how his kit works is much worse than Seele. And right now, at the end, I can tell what he said here. He said right now, basically, I'm saying I have a lot of regret. I'm regretting my poll. Walrus, click the link. What link? What link? Oh, did somebody send it to me? What link? Tectone didn't link the video though. Look, he didn't link the video. He just reacts to it, but he doesn't link the videos. Which actually, I'm actually kind of confused why he doesn't do it.
Alright, hey guys, Mr. Poki here again, back with another video. So today's content, as you guys have probably
Who is he? Mr. Boki? Let me see. Let's find the original video. CN players hate Jing Yuan. Of course. Oh, Mr. Poki. Oh, this is him right here. There we go. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Calm down. What the hell?
Alright, hey guys,
what was
Mr.
that?
Poki here again, back with another video. So today's content, as you guys have probably seen from my intro and my thumbnail, is this kind of controversial topic regarding Jingyuan's performance and how CN players are feeling towards him. As you guys can probably tell, they are not happy with his performance, and this is especially prevalent amongst players in the CN server whom have skipped Seele, and they just thought that Jingyuan is gonna be OP, he's gonna like single-handedly carry the game, we don't need Seele because he's just gonna destroy everything. Those players that have opted to skip Seele in preference to Jingyuan are now extremely upset because the actual performance of Jingyuan far underperformed his expected performance as compared to CBD3.
Wait, sorry to pause, but like, I'm just curious where they got the idea that Jingyuan was just gonna be like the end all be all superior option to Seele. Like, I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but I'm just curious, like, where they even got the idea. Who the hell was spreading this idea saying Jingyuan was going to be like far superior to Seele? I don't get it. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna record this video. I'm gonna record a reaction video because this is very interesting, right? Okay. Sup everyone, welcome to another video. It's been brought to my attention by chat that apparently people on CN are upset about Jingyuan's performance. Now, I haven't seen this video. Okay, that's a lie. I watched like about 30 seconds of the video and I decided, you know what, let's make a video out of this because I'm actually very curious. The YouTuber here in question, I'm going to link this video down in the description so you guys could go check it out for yourselves. It's very interesting. I'm actually wanting to know more because it seems like the CN players, as usual, are far more critical of character performance than the people outside of CN. So yeah, let's just get right into it. And this is my honest reaction pretty much. I'm going to have to pause here and there, so excuse me for that. But let's get to the bottom of this. What the hell's going on? I can read Chinese, so I can probably do a little bit of translation for you guys here and there if you guys are confused as to what the posts are saying. So let's go. Yes, okay. So basically this person say like, okay, Seele is active. Jingyuan is sipping on tea, waiting for his support to give him buff. Okay, Seele's first term is done. Okay, Jingyuan is stacking his Lightning Lord. Okay, Seele's second turn is over. Okay, Jingyuan is waiting for his Lightning Lord to take his turn. Seele's third turn is over. Jingyuan says, oh no, I've been CC'd. So then, okay, I get it. I get the frustration. But let's see what else. Right here, okay, I'm blocking it. So I'm going to take myself off right now. Right here, there's a Bilibili video with 140,000 views. And the thumbnail right here says, Jingyuan, you good? Are you good? Jingyuan, with the damage being 10,522. So obviously, people are disappointed with his performance and his mechanics, right? So Seele takes 4 turns. Jingyuan takes 3 to set up his Lightning Lord and then gets CC'd. Amazing. Let's see. Right here, they also say Jingyuan is a scam, and he's been blown way out of the water. Like, not blown, he's been blown way out of proportion. And then some of the people who were praising him have no face, right? They're faceless. In Chinese means like you basically give up your credibility for some clicks, right? It's disgusting. Yeah, so they're saying, everybody skip Jingyuan, don't pull him, his damage is low, right? And then he's like, even in simulated universe full of buffs, he can only hit like 70, 80k, right? So it's and then he's like, and he got his dedicated weapon, and he's at Eidolon 4. So let's see. Okay, there's more. I'm not gonna translate all of them. You guys get the gist.
Alright, hey guys, Mr. Poki here again, back with another video. So today's content, as you guys have probably seen from my intro and my thumbnail, is this kind of controversial topic regarding Jingyuan's performance and how CN players are feeling towards him.
We saw.
They are not happy with his performance, and this is especially prevalent amongst players in the CN server whom have skipped Seele, and they just thought that Jingyuan is gonna be OP, he's gonna like single-handedly carry the game, we don't need Seele because he's just gonna destroy everything. Those players that have opted to skip Seele in preference to Jingyuan are now extremely upset because the actual performance of Jingyuan far underperformed his expected performance as compared to CBD3. So I'm just going to be going through why this is
right. And this is the point I got up to in the video before I restarted and started recording video, because my question here is like, why did people think that Jingyuan was going to be like far superior? Because as you guys say, like, people on CN had this notion that, oh my god, Jingyuan is going to be much better than Seele, right? For example, if they thought they were going to be equivalent characters, nobody was going to be like, oh, I'm going to skip Seele for Jingyuan because he's better, right? They would have maybe liked his design, maybe liked something about him, but it wasn't the case, right? They all thought, or this group of people all thought that Jingyuan was going to be the superior character. And I'm sure there was a lot of probably people clickbaiting for views, talking about it, showcasing CPT3, not talking about potential release information, and warning people of changes and adjustments to characters' kits, right? That's terrible. that's terrible. But let's see how bad it gets.
Case, what are some of the weaknesses that Jingyuan have, and why so many players are so upset with Jingyuan in CN, right? So without further ado, let's get into the content. So first things first, these are actual complaints that I've drafted up from like the CN side. As y'all can see here, I literally can't fit them into a single slide because there's just so many complaints, and this is just one of like the few hundreds, I would say. I just managed to screenshot up to 18 different complaints and just decided to add them into my thumbnail and my intro. But there are way more than this. Not to say that
yes,
everybody in CN are angry at Jingyuan. I don't think everybody thinks that he's totally unusable. But right now, as compared to Seele, right, like everybody knew that Seele was so strong. Like we pretty much have 100% agreement on that. But in CN right now, it's more like a 50-50, I would say, or maybe even 60-40, where 60% of the players think that Jingyuan is pretty weak right now, right? So this is just to set the
Okay, so I have both characters, right? So before we get any further, I have both characters. I have Seele, I have Jingyuan, and I do have to say, I put more into Jingyuan and he still doesn't feel as strong as Seele, but there is something I think a lot of people may be omitting, maybe not. But for Seele, she's really strong. I was talking to chat about this. She's really strong as long as you can kill the enemies, right? In one turn, maybe 2 turns, right? If you can find a way to get her to go first and then get Bronya to buffer, then she gets to go again, right? So that's essentially 2 turns. And if she can kill the enemy in those 2 turns, then she gets to go again, which essentially she's taken 3 actions. Incredibly OP, very broken. However, if a scenario ever arrives where even with that, you cannot kill the first enemy, right? And then you have to wait for your second turn, and then you can or cannot. If you can kill it, good. Then I think in that scenario, she's still better than Jingyuan. But if in the second turn, she still can't kill the enemies, like the ads, the fodder, right? We're talking about the end game content. Then you start to realize, oh my god, my Seele. And then by then, Jingyuan likely would have taken his action. His lightning lord would have gone. He probably maybe used his ultimate once. Like that's when you start to realize, like, okay, maybe it wasn't as good as we thought. I think there's a bias right now because early game, Seele is just crushing through all the content. It's a breeze. I can do it with my eyes closed. It's so much fun watching her just delete enemies. But I'm sure once I get into the later stages of Memory of Chaos, she's not going to be just one-shotting everything. Like, it's not possible. Even now, like in boss fights, she's not one-shotting them. It takes multiple hits, and Jingyuan can slowly stack up his Lightning Lord, and in those situations, he feels very easy and comfortable to play as well. Now, sure, yes, she still does more damage. Seele does more damage, but it feels much more even out in drawn-out fights, which I don't know if he's going to address, so let's continue watching, right? But that's just my experience playing both of these characters.
Context of the situation of how everybody's feeling towards Jingyuan. And yeah, I will now be going through some of the factors why CN players are feeling this way. For a sort of most straightforward reason that I think everybody can just see at a glance is just direct unit nerfs and buffs as compared to CBD3.
Yep.
Right. So this outright changes how unit can function, and there isn't any theory crafting. It's just straight up they changed the kit on the numbers, and it negatively affected the player's experience when using Jingyuan. So as you all can see here, as compared to CBD3, Jingyuan has undergone quite a number of changes. Although
I'm gonna take myself
got 2 buffs, which is essentially his technique, giving
over
him
here.
3 stacks of Lightning Lord instead of 2, as well as his trace ability trace upgrade, Battalion Crush, changing from 20% to 25% crit damage. They are very nice buffs, but the nerfs to Jingyuan far outweigh the buffs that he received. Alright, as you all can take a look over here, the crit chance traces on Jingyuan, they nerfed it from 18.7% to 12%, and the trace ability, like the tiny little notes, instead of becoming lightning damage, which added up to a total of 14.4%, they changed it to a total 28% attack. Right, and something that's not shown in the chart shown by the CN player is that before Dawn's base attack also got nerfed from roughly 600 plus to only 582 at the current moment. Right, so a lot of players in EN server or global server, they might not even be aware of the changes made by Jingyuan, and that's why they had no recollection of how Jingyuan actually performed in CBD3. And they might not even be aware that these nerfs were in place for those of us who even played CBD3, right? But maybe players only focus on the buff, like they saw like, oh my god, Jingyuan got buffed. I know that in Reddit, a lot of players hyped up like, oh my god, Jingyuan got buffed and he's like so much better now. But I think some players don't even realize that his nerfs are like way worse compared to the buffs, right? Because first of all, a nerf to crit chance is honestly quite considerable because of how.
But like, okay, quick pause. Sorry if it's chat is blocking. I'm taking chat off for a little bit here. So the nerf to crit rate, in my opinion, it's around a 6%, right? Like 6 point something percent, almost 7% of a crit rate nerf. This could be made up. Like, I think, in my opinion, this nerf is targeted for players to go farm more relics. HoYoverse wants more emphasis put on relic farming. You can make up that 7% through relics. Yes, it's going to take a longer time. Right now, the biggest problem is not a lot of people are able to farm relics comfortably. Even if you are Trailblaze level 50, there's so much that you need to do. Unless you're a whale, fully refreshing every day, you don't have enough of the I call it resin, I don't know what, like the energy to farm the relics and level up all your characters, right, to be competitive in Memory of Chaos. So that 7 point something percent crit rate is going to feel very annoying for people right now because they don't have enough resources to make it up. But I think give it like not even that long, a month, 2 months, I'm sure that 7 point something crit chance could be made up in the artifacts, and relics could be made up in the relics. And in the future, people will still say like, well then, now I have 60%, but I should have had like 67%, right? If it was the old Jingyuan. But understand that right now, let's just use Genshin. There are people who have 100% crit rate. They have 104% crit rate on their carries with like 200% crit damage. It's just like, okay, cool. But in the span of a long time playing this game, this nerf is almost non-essential. Like, it is almost a non-issue because you will make up that difference in crit chance in relics. You will over a long period of time, and that's what HoYoverse wants. And I think that's why the nerf even exists. This won't matter nearly as much going forward. It might feel terrible now, but it won't matter for the long time. Trace ability going for 14.4% lightning damage to attack percent. This I think is probably the biggest issue here. The attack scaling, like sure, it can scale back into his kit, but just losing out on the 14.4% lightning damage, I think this is probably the biggest issue. To be honest, the base attack nerf isn't even my biggest concern because that's also, again, just scaling, right? I think this trace ability is the biggest one that you cannot get back. Sure, you can get lightning damage, but this lightning damage is no other way to get more lightning damage, and this is direct buff and scaling to his kit. Now, even if you say, okay, give this back to him, would that make him competitive to Seele? No. Seele is like, he will, like let me just say it like this. Even if you didn't touch any of these 3, 4, and 5, he kept the crit rate, he kept the trace, he kept the base attack, and give him the buff, he's still not going to be competitive to Seele in the current stage of the game. He is not. He's not designed for that, in my opinion. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm saying that's terrible, and this is going to affect his performance. Even in the end game, this will affect his performance. But I'm just saying that if you're measuring his relevancy to someone like Seele, he is not going to be competitive to her right now in this stage of the game where people are playing right now. It's just not going to happen. That's just not where he shines. All right, but let's continue.
A strong crit/crit damage is in any sort of gacha games, right? And 18.7% to 12% is essentially around 2 lines of crit that's been shaved off. But that's not the most important nerf. The most important nerf is changing his lightning damage percentage to attack percentage.
That's the worst one because it scales. Right?
How bad attack percentage
it affects the scaling.
The unit's DPS, and every single scenario, you will always want elemental damage over attack percentage, just because of how much attack percentage gives you diminishing returns and how little it impacts you in the final DPS calculator, right? This is made even worse when you consider the fact that all the supports that we run with Jingyuan right now, like Bronya, Asta, Tingyun, they have a lot of buffs to their Jingyuan's attack percentage already. So it's not like he's in a dire need of attack percentage buffs, but there is no, or rather there's very little buffs to his lightning damage. The only way you can actually get this lightning damage is if you use Planetary Rendezvous and you slap it onto Tingyun and you get this lightning damage. But other than that, no other units are able to buff Jingyuan's lightning damage. And that's why changing lightning damage to attack percentage is a huge nerf that affected his DPS by quite a bit, yeah? So that's just for Jingyuan. But of course, we cannot just look at Jingyuan alone, because as we all know, right, Jingyuan is a unit that heavily relies on supports. You can't just run him alone without having any supports, or even just one support, because multi-support comms on Jingyuan are the current meta, because he not only requires a DPS increase, he also requires supports to give him more action turns so that he can stack his lightning knots. If he's unable to stack his lightning knot to like 7 stacks, 8 stacks, 9 stacks, 10 stacks, then his DPS is going to severely fall off, even if you just buff Jingyuan's DPS alone. That's why supports are extremely crucial to Jingyuan's comp. And that's why the second reason, or rather the second nerf that heavily affected Jingyuan's performance is Tingyun's nerf. Now, I'm not sure how many of us actually know this. Me, myself, I didn't really play CBT3 that much, so this is quite new to me. But as you can see from at a glance, right, Tingyun got a huge nerf since CBT3. Right? Her ultimate buff percentage and duration got shaved from 60% in 3 turns to 50% in 2 turns. This is a huge nerf. Secondly, her Nourish Joviality, which is one of her ability traces, the speed changed from 40% to 20%. So essentially, she's 20% slower now after casting that ability. And lastly, her E2, which is the energy regeneration upon kill, changed from 10 to 5. And right now, we know that, I think Remo also did the calculations, Jingyuan has this slight energy issue where he's missing 5 energy if he's unable to get it from external sources like getting hit or whatever. So theoretically, if you had this E2 regeneration giving Jingyuan 10 instead of 5, it would have solved the energy issue. So this is also a huge nerf to Jingyuan's overall turn cycles. So massive nerfs across the board on Tingyun, even though she is still extremely strong. And Tingyun with Jingyuan is like bread with butter, you know. So huge nerfs to Tingyun's kit is ultimately gonna result in a huge nerf to Jingyuan comp's overall DPS. And that's why Tingyun getting nerfed so much is also a huge contributing reason why Jingyuan has such a big underperformance as compared to CBT3. Right. Another issue right now that is, I think it goes bigger than just simple stat changes, is a fundamental comparison between Seele and Jingyuan. Now, I know they both do different units, and everybody knows there are different units that does different things, but you cannot ignore the fact that players are always going to compare the limited banners, especially the first 2 limited banners in the game. Like,
this is what I don't get. Like, people will reject comparisons between characters. Like, even right now, Luocha and Silverwolf are coming up, and if people try to compare these 2 characters, there's a lot of people saying, why are you comparing them? They're different characters. As if like we can only compare characters in the same category that does the exact same thing and not talk about the potential gains and losses of people spending gems pulling for these characters for their accounts, right? So yes, let's hear it. What are people saying? I think we've talked a little bit about it through the translation that I did earlier, but let's see what exactly we're talking about.
So even though they do different things, everybody's gonna compare between City and Jingyuan and who's gonna perform more for them in their team comps, because there are limited banners and people are spending real money, trying to get these units. And this is especially prevalent to free-to-plays or monthly card holders, because they cannot just pull every single SSR. They have to choose a specific unit, and which unit can be the most future-proof to them and bring them the most benefits on the table in the current meta game. And yeah, so that's one of the issue, because people are trying to compare Seele and Jingyuan. And I just want to say that fundamentally, they are both different units, and Seele is meant for single target, Jingyuan is meant for groups. I think everybody understands this. So it's quite illogical to try to compare them. But even though it's illogical to compare them, since it's like trying to think of how good a fish is with its ability to climb trees, right? It's illogical. But that being said, right, the current content is skewed towards Seele's kit. There's nothing wrong with Jingyuan himself, but it is just that whatever content we have right now just far benefits Seele's kit even more than Jingyuan's kit.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about content that it can be done by anybody, right? Like anybody can do Simulator Universe for you. Anybody can clear overworld mobs for you. You can just run like a full 4-star team and just clear all these things. Like there's no issue in Simulator Universe or overworld mobs. So as a player that wants to spend money on units that want to benefit their team, right? It doesn't make sense for you to try to spend money on a thing that you can already do. What players want to spend money on, or rather, this is at least CN's perspective, and honestly this is my perspective as well, is you want to spend money on a unit that can help you clear the most difficult content in the game, which is currently Memory of Chaos, right? There's no point for you to spend like hundreds of dollars on a unit that you can literally do the same thing with. Like for example, you want to clear overworld mobs, you can do it easily with Herta and Himeko, right? They are both, like, I would guess we would say they are not very strong, but they get the job done very
That's
easily.
what I was saying, the follow-up gimmick.
For Simulator Universe, you can literally just run it with your free active pre-comps. You can do it with Fire MC, March, Natasha, and Danheng. These 4 characters, which is essentially given to you for free, can let you do Simulator Universe without any issue, as long as you upgrade your resonance tree high enough. Like, you can definitely do them. There's no issue in Simulator Universe or overall mobs. But when it comes to the most challenging content in the game, this is where fundamental issue starts to rise, right? So this is categorized into 3 different factors, right? So number 1, high-speed enemies, right? Seele outspeeding your enemies, it overall just reduces the damage taken for a team, right? Because if you outspeed them and you kill them, there's going to be less DPS being done to your team as compared to Jingyuan, which is essentially a slow unit. Because his lightning lock is so slow, every single time you use Jingyuan, you're bound to get hit on the first turn, even if you buff him to high heavens, because you're still waiting for lightning lock's turn to come up. And by the time lightning lock's turn come up, the enemy's mobs has really done damage to your team. So this is going to be a huge issue if you're running a team that doesn't have enough durability, like such as if you are running the Jingyuan with 3 support comp, right? Like Tingyun, Bronya, and Natasha.
Right. See, this is the issue. I also tried this team, but I couldn't do it, and I dropped Bronya for March 7th. March 7th is almost necessary, in my opinion, to stay competitive, because March 7th, if you get her high enough in the Eidolons, her shield. Wait, no, it's not her Eidolons, it's her talent. If you get the talent and Natasha's talent to cleanse, I believe, when healing and shielding, then you can mitigate a lot of problems that Jingyuan will run into. This team maximizes damage. Yes, it's perfect if you can just go and one-shot the enemies and just get all your turns going. But the problem is you cannot always do that. What will end up happening is your turn order is going to get completely screwed up because one enemy did some sort of CC on you, like maybe after Natasha's turn, and then you're screwed. So but again, it's just like Seele is so favored right now because of the mechanic that she can go kill, right? And you oftentimes don't even get to see the enemy mechanics. So it's just like, yeah, it's frustrating. I do get this. Now when he mentions this, I do notice it even in my game, and so I almost don't feel like I can beat some of the content if I were to run Bronya, Tingyun, and Natasha, and I have to run March 7th here. I have to have consistent runs.
They're all very, very soft units. They're pivot units. If you have run Tingyun and you have run Bronya or even Asta, you will know how fragile these units are. Taking even like 2 or 3 hits from like a normal mob is gonna be like putting them in the red health bar zone because they're so squishy. And because Jing Yuan is just so slow, right, he cannot stop your team from taking damage. And that's where Seele just outperforms Jing Yuan in this factor, because Seele is just fundamentally faster, and she has excellent mob clearing abilities, and I would far say even better than Jing Yuan, because she's faster, she can clear mobs and resets turn. Whereas although Jing Yuan can clear mobs even better than Seele, since he can target like up to 5 units, right? But because he's so slow, you're still gonna be taking damage from them. And by the time you reach the boss stage in MOC, your team is really gonna be weak from the damage taken from the mobs. That's why right now, this is extremely prevalent in MOC 8+, by the way. I have never done MOC 8+ before, but from what I've seen from CN content, as well as some of my whale friends in my community group, MOC 8 onwards, right, even mobs, like tiny little mobs, not even a boss, if they manage to land a single hit on like your Ting Yun, right, she's instantly at like red health, because they do so much damage. And so if you run like Jing Yuan comp in general, it's just going to be very difficult to try to negate
That's why I have
damage
March 7th.
done to them.
That's why I have to run
So
March 7th.
that's the number one issue for high-speed enemies. Right, so secondly, this is not Jing Yuan's issue, but rather the erudition class in general. Everybody in erudition suffers from this issue. So what I mean by this is, the current hardest content in MOC, the hardest stages are where you fight the boss, right? They are large health pool, single target bosses. And sometimes they spawn like 2 or 3 mobs, like Kokolia, they spawn Ice Pillars, or Japat, he spawned like some of the mobs, right? It's extremely hard to utilize Jing Yuan's strength against them. And why is this so? Because even if you say Jing Yuan is good at clearing mobs and the boss summons like a couple of mobs, right? This ironically benefits Seele even more than Jing Yuan, because she excels in clearing low HP enemies. After you clear the tiny mobs with Seele, he can just go extra turn and do even more damage to the boss itself. And if you want to compare single target damage, Seele is just gonna far outperform Jing Yuan. So it doesn't even matter if Jing Yuan can clear the little mobs summoned by the boss, because the ultimate goal of MOC is not to clear the mobs as fast as possible, is to get the boss health HP down to 0 as fast as possible. And Seele is just gonna do this job way better than Jing Yuan, right? Now, until the day comes where in MOC we fight like 2 or even 3 large health pools bosses, that is when Jing Yuan can actually shine. His real ability is not in clearing mobs. His real ability is dealing AoE damage to multiple high health target bosses.
That day will come though.
Because
That
in
day
that
will
scenario,
come.
right, Seele will not be able to perform, since she's unable to get the resets and she can only do single target damage one at a time. So before the day comes where we have like multiple large health pool bosses, Jing Yuan is just gonna always suffer behind and fall behind Seele, just because of the content that we have now. It's just the nature of the game, and unfortunately, there's not much that we can do about it. It is what it is. Right. Now, for the last point, high amounts of crowd control. Now, the current only clans we have in the game right now is essentially March 7th and Natasha, both with their skills, right? And Jing Yuan getting like crowd control, like by freeze or imprison, and causing Lightning Lock to miss a turn is a massive, massive DPS drop off. Because number one, you guys know how slow Lightning Lock is. Even at 10 stacks, if he misses that one turn after Jing Yuan gets CC'd, it's gonna take very long for him to just go back up to the top again and do his turn, right? While Seele also suffer from this issue, technically any unit suffer from this issue, it's much easier for Seele to catch up with this because she has a very high speed. So even if she gets imprisoned, it takes very short for her to just come back up to the turn cycle and go again, right? But for Jing Yuan, if you get CC'd and Lightning Lock misses a turn, it's gonna take really, really long for him to come back up. And as you all know, Lightning Lock is like the majority of Jing Yuan's damage. So Lightning Lock missing a turn is gonna cost you far more than Seele missing a turn, right? So this 3 is the fundamental issues why Jing Yuan just doesn't perform as well as Seele when it comes to MOC content, right?
But like, I think we're being too short-sighted here. Every character has their turn, right? Right now, the game is favored towards Seele. Like I said earlier, the day will come when multiple thick enemies are in the Memory of Chaos at the same time, and that's when Jing Yuan is going to outperform Seele. And that's not going to last forever, right? I don't think it's very... I think people are scared that that day will not come. And obviously, those people are just emotionally driven because they just invested a lot into a character that they realize it's not helping them progress through the game. And the fact that maybe their friends or they see people online who have Seele and have put less resources into Seele are clearing the game better than they have with their highly invested team. And of course, that's a very emotionally driven state. Then they go online, they say a bunch of stuff, and they don't really think about the fact that maybe in the future, the meta is going to change. People who pull Seele are going to be severely behind, and people who pull Jing Yuan are going to feel much better. And the real winners are the people who pulled both of them, right? understand, how does HoYoverse operate? They want you to feel regret. Now the people who didn't pull Seele are regretting their decision to pull Jingyuan. In the future, I wouldn't be surprised the people who pulled Seele and not Jingyuan are gonna regret not having Jingyuan, right? It's just like, that's how HoYoverse operates. That's why the only way you don't want to feel this is either A, you don't care, or B, get both of them. Right, that's how it always has been playing through these games, especially in the early game. Resources are so scarce, so hard to build up different team comps. You don't have nearly enough options, both in weapons, both in characters. Your eidolons are still low unless you're a Giga Whale, right? A lot of these things are just not put into place right now. And yes, these are glaring issues for Jingyuan, but they are designed in this way so he cannot be like the end all be all of carry, right? He of course needs to rely on his lightning, or that's part of his mechanic, right? Just as Seele is a high single target damage character that relies on clearing mobs to take additional turns to clear more mobs, so as to the enemies not being able to deal damage to you. But if in the future Seele, even taking 3, 4, 5, 6 turns, cannot kill the enemies because they're both elite monsters, what are you gonna do then, right? You're gonna suffer the same consequence as what's happening to Jingyuan team, is that they're both going to take turns. They're both going to hurt your team immensely, and Seele can do nothing about it. There's nothing she can do, and she's going to take forever to kill one and then to start working on the second one, whereas Jingyuan is going to constantly be whittling them down together at a time. What are you going to say then? Oh my god, I should have pulled Jingyuan. Well, you see, that's what we're talking about, right? We have to look at the strength of the characters as opposed to focusing on the weakness. He's saying you cannot measure a fish's ability by measuring how well it can climb trees. That's just how it is. Right now, the meta is designed for single target characters like Seele to just completely crush the enemies in 1 or 2 turns, and we're disregarding the fact that this is a very, very unfavorable situation for Jingyuan to be in, right? And he's still performing relatively well. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that, you know, we have to look at it from how the game is right now. The game favors Seele, so I think it shouldn't be a surprise to people that Seele is just a better character.
And because of this, because of MOC content, and because of the nerfs that I've mentioned earlier, a lot of players in CN are very angry that, like, oh my god, why is Jingyuan so bad? Like, he can't do anything that I want him to do, because a lot of people expected, like, if you pull Jingyuan instead of Seele, you can clear MOC easily. But unfortunately, this is just not happening, because let's be real, if you have a Seele account and a Jingyuan account, and both are, like, let's say E0 and E0 with one Litecoin, right? We don't talk about E6R5 because technically you can clear any content with E6R5. But if you are just talking from a free-to-play perspective, you only have one copy of Jingyuan and one copy of Seele. The account with Seele is ironically gonna clear MOC easier than the account with Jingyuan. Like, it is what it is. Even if both have like mediocre gear and all that kind of stuff. So it's just an issue that is plaguing the game right now, but it's not really entirely Jingyuan's fault. Even though Jingyuan himself got nerfed and his support got nerfed, but the fundamental issue of every region unit and the content you have in general is just favoring Seele over Jingyuan, right? So that is essentially why CN players are so angry. So now with that out of the way, I'm just going to go into my own thoughts about this. I'm someone that owns both Jingyuan and Seele. So
Smart guy. Smart guy.
I both got them at no dupes, whatever, because I'm somebody that want to experiment with different units. I don't want to all in one unit and just clear the content for me, because it's going to cause a very biased remark as to, oh my god, E6 Jingyuan, clear everything. But realistically, 99% of the player base are not going to get E6 Jingyuan. So if you really want to value units' strength, right, you should look them at their base value, which is more applicable to one unit. That's just my personal perspective as a content creator. I want to provide content that is more relatable to majority of the audience. Because let's be real, any unit at E6 R5, any hyper carries, they're gonna do the game for you, right? So let's not talk about that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna share my thoughts right now, because I have a E2 S1 Jingyuan and I have a E0 Seele who's using you know what, let's just get into the game and I'll show you guys really quickly, and then we'll cut back to the video. So my Jingyuan has Before Dawn, which is his signature light cone, and I have him at E2, so I have this one and this one. And even right now, my Seele has the Sleep Like the Dead, which is her second best in slot, right? Not her signature one, second one. And she's at E0. She still clears certain content faster than Jingyuan. It's just the nature of her mechanic, right? It's just how her mechanic works. When she can one-shot enemies, she can one-shot 1, one-shot 2, one-shot 3. Done. Fight's over. Right? That's how powerful she is when she can one-shot. It's just how it is. I have no gripes with it, and I think it's pretty cool. I think it's amazing that free-to-plays could have pulled just one copy of her and not even get her signature weapon. Like, you can probably use a 4-star weapon here, Light Cone, and you can probably achieve the same effect. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's amazing that Hoyoverse even has this kind of advantage going for one of the characters here. So for people who pull Sealy, congratulations, you're gonna find yourself really cruising through content and enjoying it. For people who pull Jingyuan, don't worry, wait your turn, it's gonna happen. All right, let's get back to the video here.
I have them both at E0, and I got one copy of their signature light coins. Personally, for me, I don't really feel the hatred that CN players have. Because number one, I'm not really pushing that hard for MOC. I'm more towards like playing the long game. I want to take it slow. I want to just build up all these characters. And so I'm at a stage where I'm still just doing my daily mobs, doing my Cinematic Universe. And frankly speaking, Jingyuan as a unit, right? He's quite fun to play. It's very satisfying to see Lionel get 10 stacks and just boom, like 10,000 million hits and the mob just dies instantly. It's very satisfying. I'm not going to deny that. But I can really relate with the tryhards, the people that want to progress MOC. I really can relate with them because I know how the content for MOC is just skewed towards Sealy. And if I have only Jingyuan and don't have Sealy and I'm trying to kill MOC, right, I'll definitely be very upset with the game because I saved up for so long. I saved up for 21 days. 21 days I didn't pull for the banner. I waited for Jingyuan and I want to clear MOC. Just to find out that actually Sealy clears MOC better than Jingyuan. So what's the point of me waiting for 21 days if I'm just gonna pull a unit that does right?
Okay, wait a minute. But the thing is, those people are listening to people, content creators, making videos talking about Jingyuan and how OP he was and how much better he was, right, in the closed beta. But they, like you're telling me, they never once stopped to think that Hoyoverse was gonna recalibrate these characters and readjust how they perform. I understand the idea is like, okay, but Jingyuan should still be better than Sealy, right? Like, because that's how it was in CP3 or whatever the hell like people in CN were telling those people. Then, like, sure, then they both get nerfed. They both should be getting nerfed, right? They never once thought that Hoyoverse was gonna flip the game on its head and be like, oh, you're all waiting for Jingyuan, then what are you gonna do when we make Sealy the priority character in the current meta space? They never once stopped to think that Hoyoverse was gonna screw him over like that. Like, come on, guys! Like this, I don't mean to rub salt in the wound or anything. I'm not saying like you should have pulled both, but I'm just saying like if you are putting all your faith into some random dude on the internet telling you what and how you should be doing things and like blah 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 blah, and then are you really going to be surprised when things came out not the way you expected it to? The guy who used to tell you pull Jingyuan, now he's playing with his Sealy now and being like, oh my god, look, if you want to clear Memory of Chaos, I have a guide for you. If you pulled Sealy, congratulations. Yeah, like you can't be surprised at this stuff, right? Like unless you're just really gullible. But I'm just saying that's why you don't watch just one content creator. You watch like 5, 6, 7, 8. Do your research. You really can't be mad if you base your entire account's progression and decision off of one person's opinion and research.
Right now, that's worse than Sealy in terms of MOC, right? So I understand the frustrations that the senior players have. On the other hand, I just want to say that Jingyuan as a unit himself, right? I would say he's a much more long-term development.
Yes.
What I mean by this,
yes,
it's because if you take a look at the comps that you run with Jingyuan, this is essentially the meta comp. You run with a healer or a tank here and with 2 support to Jingyuan. Compared to a Sealy comp, such as this, what are the key differences that you see here? The difference is, Sealy, she really doesn't need a very high degree of team synergy for her to work well. She's a very good unit in the sense that all she needs to do is to kill something and for her to get higher damage when she's killing something. Like, that's it, right? So you run Bronya with Sealy, it's essentially the perfect pair. Like, she gives her extra turn, she does more crit damage, she clears mobs, she does high single target AoE. There's no need to like try to like speed measure, how to prioritize which unit goes first, and all this kind of stuff. There's really no need for Seele, because number one, Seele is always going to be the fastest unit on the team, so she's always going to go first. And number two, even if Bronya goes before Seele, she can just auto attack and wait for Seele to go again. Then Bronya can go again, right? There is no need for speed synergy. All you need to do is just make sure you can survive with your tank and your healer, and make sure your carry, aka Seele, does damage, and make sure that your Bronya is fast enough to keep up. That's all you need for Seele comp. But for Jingyuan's comp, right, this comp in general, it has a much higher threshold when you want to perfect this comp, right?
Bro, I gotta be honest with you guys. Playing a Jingyuan comp feels like I'm doing like advanced arithmetic mathematics here. Like, because you gotta make sure you gotta balance out everybody's speed, and you gotta like basically force their turn order, right? Because you don't want, like, it's really annoying because like certain artifact substats, like, oh my god, I didn't want speed, I don't want speed, like, oh, you got speed, like, oh no, it's a lot of work to make this team work, and I understand the effort that it goes into making this team work. Just to see it flop and fail, comparative to a Seele team where you just slap some random characters, not random, but like just slap characters in and watch Seele go to town and get to work. But I do think that this kind of calibration for your team comps, and eventually when content does measure up to this kind of sensitivity to stat priority, it is only going to benefit your account in the long term. Now, is that kind of copium? Yes, a little bit, but I don't think it's far-fetched to say that there will one day be a meta space where erudition characters, essentially AoE characters, are prioritized over single target, right? I don't think that's a far-fetched statement to make.
Because the most important thing with Jingyuan is actually not his DPS, but rather the speed management. The speed management is everything when it comes to Jingyuan, because majority of the damage comes from his lightning lord, and if you cannot like cycle your team speed in accordance to what Jingyuan needs, right, then his turn cycle is just gonna be all over the place, and he's just gonna end up like doing only one action or maybe two actions, and then lightning lord goes. Then your lightning lord is only gonna do 7 stacks or 8 stacks, which is gonna heavily underperform in terms of total DPS. This is especially prevalent if you're a whale and you opted for E6 Jingyuan. And E6 Jingyuan, his Eidolon makes target vulnerable, all this kind of stuff. This will increase in value the more stacks you have, right? Because from 3 stacks onwards, they are going to do 36% more damage. So if you only have 7 stacks versus 10 stacks, the damage drop off is huge, right? So even for whales, this is a point that needs to be addressed. And you can only truly perfect a Jingyuan comp once you get down all your speed. Like, your Jingyuan is fast enough, like I've mentioned previous video for CN analysis for Jingyuan. Your Jingyuan needs to be fast enough if you're going to be running a slow Bronya comp with a Tingyuan, or slow Bronya comp with a Asta, or I mean Tingyuan comp with Asta. And your Asta and Bronya needs to be fast enough to boost Jingyuan, right? They need to have energy regeneration rope, they need to have high enough speed, they need to survive, all this kind of stuff. And all these players needs to be in play for Jingyuan to fully utilize his true strengths, which is letting Lightning Lord do 10 stacks. That's your end goal, right? Your end goal with Seele is just, she kills something, she go next, do more damage, that's it. But your end goal with Jingyuan is really difficult as compared to Seele.
And also, playing Jingyuan comp on auto is infinitely more annoying than playing Seele on auto. I just gotta say, like, Seele on auto is like you're watching a freaking movie. You're watching the coolest fight scene in an anime. Jingyuan on auto, it's like it increases your blood pressure. Just like, yo, Tingyun, you just use your skill. Why are you using it again? Now Jingyuan's not gonna have enough skill to stack his Lightning Lord. Oh my god! And then it just slows your whole clear down. Like Tingyun over there, like shaking her bell, using up more skill points, which makes like, and then like Bronya doesn't have enough to forward Jingyuan's thing, and everything just falls apart. Right? It's very, very frustrating. Like I can attest to that.
He needs to get 10 stacks consistently, and that is very hard to do in the early game because, number one, we don't have the resources to farm for stamina. We don't have the resources to farm for gear. And number two, getting those gear with the right substats to across all members of your team, maybe not so much Natasha, but across all 2 supports and Jingyuan, is much harder than just making sure your Seele does damage.
Yes,
and your Bronya is faster.
Relic.
That's all you
Big problem right now.
Right. So just right now in the current game that we have, it's just very hard to value Jingyuan in true strength, because I can say for a fact, right? a fully decked out Jingyuan team with the perfect subs, perfect speed tuning, perfect damage, everything, I believe that he can bring equal or even more to the table than Seele. Especially when we go into harder contents in the game where we have multiple bosses, like I mentioned just now, right? If they start to implement multiple bosses with high health pool that Seele cannot proc her resurgence on, then her performance is just gonna start dropping off. And this is where Jingyuan's combos shine, right? So my personal opinion to players who have pulled Jingyuan, maybe this is not so applicable because the general consensus that I see from the English community is most people are pretty happy with Jingyuan. Nobody really saying that Jingyuan's ass.
Ian loves him.
I don't really see much comments like that. But if you're someone that has seen the CN side of complaints, their woes, and you feel that you regret pulling Jingyuan because, oh my god, why did I pull for Jingyuan? A unit that's technically worse than Seele in terms of MOC performance, right? Like, okay, let's be real here. Jingyuan is worse than Seele in MOC performance right now. Like right now, as of this date, what's today's date? 21st of May, right now, Jingyuan is worse than Seele in terms of MOC performance. This is undeniable, right? But if you're someone that is feeling this way, I just want to say you shouldn't. You shouldn't feel this way because as the game progresses and we develop more and more units, because eventually you're going to reach a point where all your units are going to be max level and max traces, and the only thing left for you to farm is going to be relics.
So, yes.
In the far future, I don't know how long it's going to be, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, when your team is speed tuned enough, when your team has the proper DPS and the proper support and the proper durability for all your supports, where your Tianyun stops dying to one hit with a super abysmal health pool, when all this aligns, right, Jingyuan's value will shine one day. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but I can promise you that if you have pulled for Jingyuan, there's no reason for you to think it's over, you break the account. Like, he's definitely going to shine in future content. Because even though the current content, it favors Seele comp more, but I don't believe that in the future, MiHoYo just going to stick to a single boss with 2 mobs for the rest of their lives. They're definitely going to implement like multi-boss stages so that erudition units class as a general, they can start to shine. If not, there's no point running erudition unit. You might as well just remove them from the game because Seele basically does what erudition unit does, which is clearing mobs, you know. But when you finally place in content that has multiple high health pool units, I believe that's the day where Jingyuan enjoyers can finally say, haha, no regrets, you know. Yeah, so that's my overall thoughts for CN's complaints.
Yeah, that's when Zen Zone Zero gets released. That's when Jingyuan suddenly becomes OP. But anyways, memes aside, he's got a point, and I understand the frustrations as well. Don't worry, like I think Jingyuan, like he said, in the long term is gonna service people just better. The time and effort to speed tune your characters and your team to make sure that they work perfectly in synergy with each other, and also invest into characters in the future to maybe replace Natasha for a more suitable role. But again, she can cleanse, other characters can cleanse, and you really need that cleanse. So I think that Jingyuan might need to stick with Natasha on his team. Right now I'm playing March 7th just because I don't want to like bother with the whole relic speed tuning thing, and March 7th on auto is a little better than Bronya on auto, kind of, not really, but let's be honest here. Seele enjoyers right now are going to continue rubbing it in Jingyuan enjoyer faces, but honestly I think that things will even out in the future, and HoYoverse is going to find their way to make everybody regret it. If you pulled Jingyuan, you're going to regret not pulling Seele one day. If you pulled Seele, you're going to regret not pulling Jingyuan one day. That's just how HoYoverse always operates. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to move myself back down here because that's where chat is. But yeah, don't be too sad, don't be too distraught. I think nobody needs to worry. Calm down, it's fine, right? This is such a long video, I'm going to spend forever editing it, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this and not get too spoofed by this situation, right? CN is a very try-hard meta region, whereas EN, as you guys can see, nobody really has problems with it, so we should be fine. All right, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, urge you to stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye-bye. My goodness, that was a 46-minute recording. I don't even know how it got that long. I might have to shut down quite a bit. I think people need to go subscribe to Mr. Poke. Tell them Walrus sent you, because Tectone didn't even link his video. What? Come on, man. You gotta at least link the video. Give him a shout out or something. yeah, Mr. Poke, thank you for covering the content. Yeah, people go over, say hi. I know maybe my community is not the biggest, but you know, he provided 46 minutes of content for me. The least I can do is tell you guys to go over, send some love and support, right? So yeah. Also, I'm gonna be heading out now. My goodness, that was a long ass video, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. I think the Lannisters send their regards, the Walruses sends their flappers, but yeah, I'm gonna continue. Probably I'm gonna pull for Locha, and I want to pull for Silverwolf, and I maybe pull for Blade, but up to that point, I don't know. I these are all good characters. Blade and Locha are gonna be great together, and I do need a second healer for my Seele team now, because I'm probably gonna keep Natasha on in here. But then again, Branya sticks with Seele, so it's so hard, man. Like right now, I'm thinking of just continue using. I'm gonna level up Geppy eventually, replace March 7th with Geppy, and then keep my cleanse over here. I don't know. Like at this point, it just feels easier to run Kirara March 7 cheese through everything. Like I like, why even bother running this? Why even bother running this when just run this and this and just, you know, and the worst part is I even have her at Eidolon 1. I even have my Kirara at Eidolon 1, which using skill will not remove marks of counter on the enemies, which, my god. Where to put Bailu? Oh yeah, if you have Bailu, just stick her in the second team and skip or the primary team, and then put Natasha on the Natasha. I feel like should be on Jingyuan's team just to cleanse him, because of how detrimental it is if he gets CC'd, right? Seele could get CC'd and it's okay, you're fine. But I think you should stick Natasha on Jingyuan's team. The only time I would put Bailu on Jingyuan's team is if you got Silverwolf and you're playing Tingyun Silverwolf with Bailu Jingyuan to force lightning onto the enemy as a weakness. That's the only time I would do it, but usually Silverwolf should be sticking with Seele if you have her, or pulling for her. Locha is going to come in and temporarily fill as my healer for my second team, probably going to be on the Seele team, right? Seele, Branya, Locha, and probably March 7th. So I have a cleanse on this team as well. So then my Jingyuan team is going to be Jingyuan, Tingyun, Natasha, and Geppy. That's going to be my Jingyuan team. Good enough shields to keep someone like Tingyun alive. Secondary team would have a healer in Locha who can heal passively or actively, and also have a character like March 7th to shield someone like Seele, shield someone like Branya, so like they don't get one shot, right? And my March 7th is at E6, and also her trace also can cleanse. Yep. Right here, skill remove. So she has the traces to remove, to cleanse. So both team has a cleanse, both team has a shielder, and both team has a healer and buffer that are synergized very well with the main carry. That's the short-term goal. Eventually, if I run Seele with Silverwolf, then I might have to drop where is she? I might have to drop March 7th, but we'll see how that synergy goes. All right? Can you put friend supports on MOC? No. No. That would be too easy. Oh. Imagine if they let you do that though. People use my Jingyuan. What do you guys want me to put on as my support character? My Geppy is kind of under geared. My Branya is kind of under geared. I mean, I think my Jingyuan is pretty damn cool. I think E2 S1 Jingyuan. Now, see, now the question is, should I push for E4? I don't think so, right? But this would solve a lot of his energy issues. Literally, it would basically replenish his energy, like his ultimate. For each hit performed by the Lightning Lord when it takes action, Jingyuan regenerates 2 energies. If it takes 10, that's 20. This is something else. E6, as he was mentioning, it really depends on how well stacked your Lightning Lord is. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm having a blast in Star Rail here. I have 4.3 million credits, so I think I should be fine to get all 8 of my characters. Locha is going to be the last one. Unfortunately, I haven't been really using my I keep escaping to quit out, but unfortunately I haven't really been using my MC. She's really good, but my March 7th is E6. Usually for most people right now, they'd be using the MC over March 7th. But because my March 7th is E6, she's kind of a pseudo healer as well, and she has cleanse. And whereas cleanse is so rare in the game, right? And right now my March 7th can get 3 characters in my team shielded, maybe even 4. In some situations, 4 shielded characters. Girl power is just going through the roof right now. So yeah, MC is so good. You can get E6 too. Yeah, I'm working towards E6, and I think once she gets to like higher eidolons, she might be able to, like, I might be able to replace March 7th. And I would even say replacing March 7th when there's no ice weakness on the enemies, but they have fire weakness, the MC is also going to shine. It's just MC right now, I haven't really pushed her up right now because March 7th is so damn good. Like, she's so good right now for my team. But yeah, working on it, people, working on it. Slow progress, but for sure. All right, you'll need to invest in MC anyways for story content. Yeah, I think MC is like, I can't get around it. It's just right now it's not a priority because I'm up to the story and everything's good. So yeah, until next time, I urge y'all to stay safe. Peace. I gotta go edit a video. Bye bye.